Me personally, I hate bureaucracy. And that's why, as a software engineer, I tried to disrupt the public sector. And in this video, I will explain how that went. So I live in Germany, and in Germany, you are required to have a health insurance. And now there's two options. You can either pick public health insurance, like the one provided and supported by the government, or you can pick a private health insurance, which is much more expensive, but which has significantly better coverage. Now, most people have the public insurance. However, if you're working for the government, say you're a police officer, then you have the option, or then there's the perk that they will reimburse you 50% roughly of your private health insurance cost, and that makes it affordable again. Now, if you have a public health insurance, then the doctor is directly billing the public health insurance, so there's nothing to do on your side. However, if you have a private health insurance, then the doctor is directly billing you. You have to pay the invoice out of your own pocket, and then you basically have to apply for a refund at your private insurance and also at the government. And now the question is, how do you do that? Now, the issue is that back in the day, or it was roughly 2016, the private insurances already had a digital flow for handing those kind of invoices in. But on the public authorities side, it was mostly offline. So that means people would literally make a copy of the invoice, put it inside of an envelope, pay a stamp, pay 145, and send it via physical mail over to the authority. So everything completely offline, mostly. Now, to be fair, there were also a few states that have a website or a portal where you can upload your images or your scans, but that's super inconvenient because you need to go to your desktop, you need to have a scanner, you need to turn your scanner on, and all these things. For a non-technical person, it's super difficult. Yeah, and that's why I started to build this little app over here. So it's nothing special. It's pretty simple. It has 3 tabs, and I don't want to go through all of that. And if you're wondering about the weird language, well, yeah, that's German. So if you say you receive an invoice from your doctor, then you can click over here, and then you can say, okay, what type of document did you receive? Is it the invoice from a doctor? Is it some prescription? Have you been in a hospital, or is it something else? So I'm just going to pick doctor, right? Then you say, okay, who is the recipient of this document? And I'm just going to leave it as it is. Then you can say, okay, when did you, or what's the date of this document? And then you can click here. Yeah, so I basically created this little app which allows you to take a photo of the invoice that you get, and then afterwards it's going to generate a PDF for you on the fly. It's going to calculate the sum of the total amount that you want to claim, and then you can send that back to the authority. Yeah, so I did this little app over here, nothing special. So basically what it allows you to do is once you get an invoice, you can use this app to take a photo of the invoice. And with this photo, yeah, so basically what I did is I created an app which allows you to take a photo of the invoice that you just got. And then it would add it to your list of invoices, and then later on when you want to submit it, it would automatically generate a PDF for you with the total amount that you want to claim. And then you can take this claim and then send it to wherever you want via email. Now I chose email for now because it does not require the other side to cooperate, so that's why I picked email for the time being. But of course, cloud would be the better solution. And if you're wondering about this weird language, well, that's German. So basically, if you have a new invoice, you can say what type of document it is. If it is a prescription, if it's the invoice from a doctor, or if you've been at the hospital, then you can click next. You have to specify who the recipient of the invoice is, because you can also have children insured. So and then what is the date of the insurance? It's like just a simple date picker. And then you can enter the amount. I don't know, I'm just going to enter 44. And yeah, now this thing here is so I made this little app here which allows you to take a photo of the invoice once you get it. And once you've taken a photo of the invoice, it's going to put it to the list of invoices. And when you want to submit it, it's going to generate like a PDF for you. And this PDF contains like the total amount that you want to claim. And then you can send this PDF to wherever you want to. Now I decided to go with email because with email, it is not required that the other side cooperates, right? Obviously like cloud or something would be better, but like emails was like the only solution where the cooperation of the other party is not required. Okay, so let's say we just got an invoice from a doctor. And if you're wondering about that weird language over here, that's German. So yeah, and here you can say, okay, who is like the recipient of the invoice? Because you can also have children like insured. You can pick like the date, you can pick like the total amount, and then the camera starts. Now, since this is simulator, like it's just going to pre-populate it with like a couple of predefined invoices. So I'm just going to say done, and bam, like here you see your invoice, the type, like the recipient, the date, and the overall amount. Yeah, so pretty simple overall. And at the very end, you can package everything together and send it over. Yeah, so users really like the application because they no longer needed to spend their Sunday afternoons like filling out the same forms over and over and over again. So with that envelope, you're done. You don't need it anymore, you can use an app. So for the customers or for the people with private health insurances, that was absolutely amazing. However, saying that the public authorities didn't like it would be a British understatement. Like they did not like this at all. So I roughly had like 3,000 downloads or so, and people were like sending these claims to the authorities, and they kind of didn't really want to accept it. And that's why they came up with a pretty interesting excuse. If you want to hand in a claim, you need to do so in writing. And now the question is, what is a valid way of handing a claim in? And according to this super outdated German law, you can either sign it manually, like the sheet of paper, and mail it, like with physical mail, send the sheet of paper, or you can send a fax. And everything else is just not defined. So that means if you have a sheet of paper, you sign it by hand and you take a photo of it, they are not required to accept it. So guess what they did? Most of them just said, we don't want it. And after like a year or so, the first state basically came up with their own application. I mean, they didn't build that on their own. They basically went to a very big and very known, a well-known IT company, and they just bought a white label product and put their logo on it. And that took them like 1 year or so. Now, the interesting thing is that the different states, like here in Germany, they all handle this kind of thing a little bit differently. So what ended up happening is that a lot of states like went to that very big IT company and got the same solution. So that big IT company was able to sell the same software like multiple times. So instead of just going to this IT company and saying, hey, look, like we have like one application, and then you say, okay, I live in this state, and then I transfer the data to a different server. Like instead of doing that, like just got the same solution a few times. So that big IT company made quite a bunch of money. Yeah, so I can probably say that I did a lot of free business development for them. For me, it was like a good learning. Although I would have been very proud, to be honest, if they had just bought my app. Like that would have made me really proud, because back in the day I was like a college student. But frankly, I can't really blame them for protecting their own interests. And this is something I did not take into account, because back in the day I thought, it's just about the tech, you just have to build this app, and that's just not the case. Like, you just have to assume that like people are reluctant to like change, and that they're trying to do like everything they can to kind of resist this change. And you have to factor this into account. So not only do you need like the tech skills to make something happen, to build something, but also you need like strategic thinking. Okay, what is like the other person going to do? Like, what is the reaction going to be? How can I differentiate myself like from the other people? What can I do so that people don't copy me? Like, can someone hide behind laws or something? Yeah, so that was my story on how I tried to disrupt the public sector. Leave a comment below what you think about this. What's your experience? And smash that like button if you don't like bureaucrats. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.